What's up, guys? DrumQuig podcast, episode 33. And this is a special one because this is our season one finale. And I had to think about who would be the best guest for it. And, a repeat guest, a new guest, who would it be? Somebody whose nickname is Rage. So I thought it would be appropriate to bring on Rage Paige Cantrill. Oh my gosh. So excited to have
Yay,
you.
thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much
much
for
for
being here.
bringing me on.
Absolutely. So you play in Vern Daysel and the Burning Breeze.
Mhm.
Just had a single come out last month. So I kind of just want to go right into that. Like, how's the buzz going around that? And how's it feel having that out there and all that hard work you put into it right off the bat?
It feels really, really good. We released New Game first, and that did very, very well. I was a little bit, I don't know, you do kind of get nervous that anything that follows, like, may not do as well for whatever reason, not necessarily, we put the same amount of effort and passion, but you just never know if it's like, you know, too close together or too much of the same, but everyone really liked it. It was kind of like a '70s theme for Pulling on the Chain, the recent one that we did, which was fun to put the outfits together and play with the lighting and stuff like that, do like a minimal budget situation, but still a really great studio. It feels really good to be well received. There's like the occasional not so cute comment on YouTube. People are very harsh, which is fine. It comes with the territory, but it's mostly really positive feedback. So that's been encouraging. That's been really nice.
Well, and yeah, and you're always going to have those people online who are going to say stupid stuff. And, especially having a girl behind the kit. And I mean, I kind of feel like that's something you're kind of used to, after this
Yeah,
time.
at this
But
point, for sure, definitely. It never you get used to it. It sometimes, depending on your mood, it'll sting more than others. Like some days you're like, okay, fine, comes with the territory. Some days you're like, why? Why? Like, why did you waste your energy pointing that out? Like, you're very observant. I am a woman. That is true. Like, good job. But, you know, usually it's like, why is she wearing such ridiculous shoes? It's like nothing to do with the actual drumming. So it's like, all right, like you can, hate on the way I execute, I suppose, if you have to. But at least, they don't have anything to say about my group. So that's very nice.
yeah, I mean, I guess if they're not complaining about your playing, I don't want to say easier to brush off, but it's still the frustrating
Mhm.
part where you're like, listen, if you're going to criticize something, talk about how you don't like how I play my ride or how I hit my snare, but not my shoes. Like,
Sure.
don't go for the
Yeah.
shoes.
Yeah, come on. The shoes are, and it's, like, I mean, it's usually Converse, but I've been adding like you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you that I've been adding the like, like tall platform boot situation. Like in the video, you can see in the video, I wore them, I think for both of them. They're just, there's not a crazy arch. They just look very high. So it's very comfortable to play. Anybody else who is thinking about playing, whatever gender you are, if you want to play in heels, you can do it. Just make sure, you got some support.
I love that. Like, I like that you were like, you didn't ask, but I've been doing this. No, that's even
Yeah.
cooler that came up because it's harder to see it. And I always have that pet peeve of like the drummer always gets the least amount of attention when it comes to pictures. If you look at a
Mhm.
band's, all the pictures from a set, it's like singer, guitar, bass, singer, singer, singer. Oh, there's one picture of the drummer, but it's really close up. And you're like, why did you take that picture?
Yeah, and usually there's, like, maybe 2 or 3 in a sea of, like, 50 pictures. There's, like, 2 or 3, and you're an active drummer face for at least 2 of the 3, and it's like, "Oh, no," and you can't, I guess I can't, I can't, the photographers do their best with the limited amount of space they're allowed to access, I suppose, depending on the venue, but, there were some good ones when we did, the Richie Kotzen and John 5 run. I was deliciously collecting pictures. That was fun.
That's fantastic. I love that because I'm also a photographer, so I understand like sometimes you do have that limited space, but I feel like because a drummer's so much harder sometimes to get a picture of, they're like, we'll just go to somebody else. We'll just go to somebody else. So you've spoiled the elephant in the room. You are a woman. Oh my God. Like
I am
people are so
indeed. I am.
surprised. I say that in jest, but talk about like being a woman drummer in this environment because here we are in 2026 and we have Anika Niles playing in Rush, which so many people did not give her a chance. I was skeptical and I think it was fair to be skeptical, but I think she's absolutely crushed it. Have you seen any real differences in how you're received?
It's definitely I've received a little better, especially when people the it kind of depends on the environment. Sometimes people like their initial reaction will be surprise, doubt. A lot of the times I've had people ask before while I'm setting up my own drum set if I'm the tech. Which, like, cool, women techs, fantastic, but, like, I'm the drummer. I'm not setting it up. They'll be like, "Are you setting it up for your boyfriend?" Like, I get that question all the time. Another question I get is, oh god, this one. A woman asked me, "So who do you belong to in this group?" And I was like, "I beg your pardon?" And she was like, who's yours? Like, who are you dating? Who are you married to?" And I was like, "Nobody." And of course, like, not to say it doesn't happen in
You're like,
bands. I've dated band members before, sure, like, we're not gonna pretend like I haven't, but that's not the case every single time, and it's usually, like, default, like, "Oh, you must be here because, like, you're related to someone here or you're married to someone here," and it's like, "No, they actually just found me on Instagram, enjoyed my drumming, and asked me to be a part of the band." But, other than that, it's a lot less. When I was younger, people w it would cause me great anxiety to perform because it would be like a nightly multiple person like multiple people would say something about it, whether it be about like, oh well, your sticks are too skinny, those are girl sticks, when it's like I've seen men play with 7As 5As before, like
yeah,
why is that a girly stick? What the heck? And what is a girly stick? Like, it's just very strange that people can make things a little bit weird. But then there are people who ask respectfully, like, they'll say like, "Look, respectfully, you're a very small woman and I did not expect that amount of power to come from you." Like, you know what I mean? I can give more space for that. But usually, like in my adult life, I've been playing the drums for a disgustingly long time now, over 20 years, and, people know that and kind of sprinkle their respect on it, which is nice.
yeah. In the strange ways, like you said, the the skinny stick thing is gonna bother me because Neil used 747s, like thin sticks. They were not
Mhm.
giant stick. Not everybody needs that giant stick. And it's just a weird thing for somebody to
It's a weird observation, like, at least people are observing you, but on the Anika thing, I've been following her for I mean, since, like, high school, which is a long time ago. But, dude,
thing.
when I found out that she was hired for the job, I mean, she's perfect. Like, I don't know if you checked any of her stuff out, but she played like, the mixed meter thing is her freaking bag. Like, she has that down. She always does videos on that sort of thing. Like, she does a lot of videos where she composes her own music and then drums to it. I love her. And when I found out that it was like destiny for it was a personal victory for some reason for her to be asked, like, it's fantastic that it's a woman. I know a lot of people wanted Mike Portnoy. Of course, that would have been a cool choice. We love him. Sure, you know what I mean? He does a good job, but I am exponentially thrilled that it's Anika. No disrespect to Mike Portnoy. We love him obviously,
But
but
yeah,
I'm so
we
glad that
love
it's
Mike.
Anika. Yes.
So it's funny because that's a picture of Mike back there. So I thought that was
Sick. Yeah.
hilarious of all people.
Fantastic.
But so I thought he could do it, but I didn't want him to do it. And the only person I thought that could do it was Danny Carey.
Oh
But
my gosh, that would have been cool too.
even when you watched him play a couple years ago with them, there were some parts of YYZ that were difficult. And Danny, it's not that he can't play them, but it's like it didn't make sense. I'm like, what's happening here?
Mhm.
And I think, we've talked about it before where she was the perfect person because she didn't have expectations of it prior. She didn't already know everything about it. She had to learn all that. And I think you saw it from, night one to night two, the just pure bliss that she was having by the second night of just nailing all those fills because all those things went from they shouldn't be in the band, they shouldn't be in the band to she's the great. She's great.
Yes.
We're fine.
Mhm.
I love that you followed her for so long because most people were not introduced to her until this happened.
Mhm.
And I had followed her, I'd watched her videos, but not a heavy follower.
Right.
It was like these are cool and move on. Oh, these are cool, move on. And I mean, that's kind of how we are with social media anyways, but I feel like she flipped the script on everybody, and I think it was a fantastic choice, and I'm hoping that I can try to see them in a couple months just
God,
because
that
it
would be
will be
great. I
a
hope you
different
can too.
experience. Yeah.
I saw Rush, I can't remember the year, that was also an annoyingly long time ago. I think I potentially late middle school, early high school, and that was incredible. Of course, I would love to go again to see Anika, but, at the same time, the drummer budget is a small budget, so I'll have to save up.
No, it's the Rush budget is not a small budget. Let's talk about that because it is the tickets are not cheap. And I feel like we have that issue in this, the music realm today where these ticket prices are just all over the place. And you pull out a ticket from 10 years ago and you're like, oh, $20, got to see this band. That was cool. Now that same band, you're like $100 or the fees, you know, I'll never forget. I saw Under Oath 2 years ago
Mhm.
and I bought two tickets and the price was the amount of three tickets because of the fees. And I'm like, but why? Th- That's a whole new
It's
thing.
robbery, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, you have these smaller venues like Crowbar that we talked about in the last episode that can't sustain because these larger companies come in and just outbid them basically and push them out. And
Yeah.
so anyone listening, go support your small venues. Go to that show for 15, $20. Go support those
Yes, you
bands.
won't regret
And
it. You discover so many cool things. You're a part of a little scene. Like, you don't realize how much like that is a big deal for us to do that. Like, I know it sounds like $15 is just like, oh, whatever. But it's a huge deal. And it also means a lot to us. Like there are some you get the occasional people that are like, "Oh, well, I can see them for free here, so we're not gonna go see them." And it's like, "Okay, thanks for that." But then there are people that come to the show, like, no matter what and pay the ticket no matter what, and that it we don't forget that, that sticks with us. So, please and thank you for everyone that does that. I encourage you to give it a try. If you're bored, catch a wild hair, go see a show, any local show. It'll be cool.
yeah, absolutely. And I will say this on the record. I've had drummers get me on the list and I still bought tickets.
Oh, that's so
I just
cool
won't
of
ever
you.
because you gotta support. And I get the hey, I put you on the list, I got you two free tickets. That's great. But what does that do for you guys? What does that do for this small band or this, venue or whatever the case is? If it's not one of those giant ones that Ticketmaster or Live Nation are running. So
Right.
not that I think anybody from them is watching, but they're ripping people off left and right. But we could do an entire
Uh-huh.
episode on that. We didn't get political, but we got ticket political, and I think that's a safe realm to be in. I do love you guys do a lot of shows predominantly in South Florida from what
Mhm.
I've seen. Want to say you did one closer to middle Florida, whatever it was recently, but I could be wrong.
Maybe. Do you remember
I think that was
the
the soup.
venue?
It
Not to put you
wasn't
on the spot.
Sanford.
It's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I think
Was it a
I
part
saw
of the Richie
Sanford.
Kotzen thing?
I think so. I'll have to double check because now I'll go back and look at it. But as far as like expanding the realm of shows, like, is there any plans for you guys to move a little bit further into those, central and top of Florida, or has the South Florida scene seems to be treating you guys quite nicely for the recent run of shows too.
Yeah, definitely. We do love playing in South Florida. We play in South Florida a lot. We did Jacksonville, I think a couple of weeks ago. We try to make it to we play Tennessee quite a bit. We try and make it there as much as possible. I know that's not Florida, but we'll do like uh like we play Tennessee and Georgia as frequently as we can. We don't do Orlando as often. I think it would be fun too, but it just sort of, depends. We throw the spaghetti at the wall and it doesn't always stick, but we'll just keep, chucking it, so to speak. But yeah, we do love South Florida. We get good work here, but we're definitely working to expand. This is not Florida, but we did some shows in France recently. And we're hoping to nurture more of the European scene
I
because they
know
want us back for next year. Isn't that crazy?
that was gonna be one of my next things. I was like, yeah, I was like, we talked about like you guys in South Florida. I was like, but I did see all the France posts. So like, what was that experience like? Let's jump right into that.
That was so incredible. I couldn't believe I mean, even for a regular trip, like, let's say you go on a vacation, I don't know if you're like this, but, like, I never feel like I'm doing the thing until I'm, like even when I'm on the way there, I'm it's not real. Maybe that's just my
Yeah,
silly brain. But like we had talked with Bruce from the Redneck Roots band, who is solely the reason that we were able to do that. He is incredible and loves like American rock, Southern rock type of genre. And there's like a little scene over there in France, which like I don't mean to be ignorant, but like I genuinely didn't know that they loved like, classic rock, Southern rock, like American bands and that they love to bring, American
I
bands
didn't
over
know
there.
that
I thought
either.
that was sick. Yeah,
Yeah,
so, I've been on vacation before, like, a long time ago, but it's been a long time since I've been to France, so, we were all a little bit nervous about how we were gonna be received, but everyone was so supportive and so nice. I didn't expect it to be, like, mean or anything, but you just your nerves, general jitters of, like, you wanna be received well everywhere, of course, which isn't a
of
realistic
course.
want, but, it's everyone's want. We did 3 shows there, and, a lot of people came to all 3. They were all, like, an hour apart, and people, like, traveled to all of them. It was so, so cool. The crowd engagement was sick. People were doing, like, chants. That has never happened here where people are like, "Hey, hey, hey." I was like I'm like, "Don't cry. Do not cry on stage. You can do this."
No pressure. No
No
pressure.
pressure, but it was so fantastic. It felt really good, and they said to keep our skeddies open for around the same time next year. There is hopes of adding Germany to a France run for next year, but we'll see. We're just gonna talk and figure it out. But thank you, Bruce, and everybody with the Redneck Roots Band for doing that for us. I mean, there's not no way we could have, but it was infinitely easier. I don't think we could have done it without him. It would have been way more difficult and much longer of a period of time for us to get there, I think. So it was fantastic and I can't wait to do more.
Well, you're the second guest in a row to talk about how well they were received in France, not knowing what to expect. So that was kind of crazy when you started talking about it because I was like, Heath just said that from High Fade. It was the same thing. He said, we went to France. He's like, everybody was so nice. Maybe it wasn't Heath,
That's
maybe it
so
was Sam.
cool.
So
Oh my
two out of
gosh,
three.
that's sick.
I kind of love that. And finding out like, you know, jam bands aren't a thing in the UK was a weird thing for me to hear. So at the same time, finding out that
Yeah.
France loves, classic rock and all that stuff, it just goes to show you we don't know about the world. We don't
No,
know
not at all.
so much about the world, especially when it comes to music. And not to beat a dead horse, but the music being the universal language, everybody rolls their eyes when they hear that.
No,
But it
I love
really is.
that. It's true. It's definitely true. I wrote like some sort of back when I had to take the FCAT, there was some writing situation on like I think the prompt was like, do you think the world would benefit from having one universal language? And my argument was that it already exists, not just in music, but like math, which is like a weird take. I don't know how to really explain that one, but like there's different ways to get to like certain answers, as you can see with like the way people do math now is different from the way I used to do math in school. But like you
Yeah.
can still get to I think that my point was like you can get to a common answer without like speaking the same language in math. Like problems are the same. Like I don't know if that makes if I'm articulating that very well. But that was my hot take is that the universal language exists and that music and math are technically universal languages.
Well, first of all, on being someone who also had to take the FCAT, which, if I remember, the Florida Comprehensive Achievement Test was just a fancy test to see if you were smart enough to keep going. Is basically what they made it out to be. You got 600 points for writing your name, like
Yeah, yeah.
writing your first and last name. So yeah, so being also an FCAT recipient, like you just gave me PTSD. So thanks for that.
That's okay. I didn't wanna suffer alone. I still think about it. Standardized I was never good at standardized tests, but, I have pretty crazy ADHD, so I did get some extra time, but even with the extra time, average, very average.
all the good drummers have ADHD. Any of them that don't stay drummers. I think that's a pretty fair assumption
That's true. You
because
know, they say it's a little secret superpower in some ways than other. I choose to believe that as well.
same here. Everyone's like, "You tap a lot." No, 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 it's superpower. Got
Yep,
this.
exactly. You're like, I'm regulating here. Look, I'm doing it right now as I speak. My foot's going. I can't help
My
it.
my left foot goes the entire time I do one of these, so it's literally the same thing where I'm just like,
Love it.
it's one of the things that I thought was a fun question, through the last couple episodes was how do you feel that drummers back in like the 60s or 70s would have received social media? Like, do you think they would have loved it or hated it? But I think that's a kind of a weird question to ask you of all people, because the band that you're in found you because of social media. So I feel like you have a different take on that. So what was it like to have the band reach out to you and say, "Hey, we like your drumming. We want you to be in the band."
It was sick. There's a whole well, there's a little I'll try and give you the bullet points because I live in Fort Lauderdale right now. I was living in St. Pete at the time that they reached out to me, but I had forgotten to change like where I live on my Facebook, and it said West Palm. And they were in a situation where their drummer had left pretty rapidly and
Mhm,
left them kind of high and dry for certain gigs. They lost a decent amount of gigs and needed someone to quickly fill in. So he reached out, and it was originally an inquiry to just fill in for 3 months. They were like, hey, we have like this amount of days to this amount of days, can you do it? And I was a fan of this band. It was technically a different outfit. It was then Switch and Whiskey. And
mhm.
I was a huge, huge fan. I'd gone to see them just as a just a regular degular, just going to check it out. You know what I mean? And when they reached out, I was kind of like, "Oh, fresh! This is that band. That's so they want me to fill in. That's fresh." So I would go and travel from St. Pete to, they were in Fort St. Lucie, is where we'd rehearse.
Poof.
And Kobe, the guitar player, would ask me all the time, like, how was the drive? And I would describe the drive. And he would always kind of look a little bit confused. And then maybe by rehearsal four, they were like, where are you driving from? And I was like, St. Pete. And they're like, what do you mean? You live in West Palm. I was like, I don't right now. I live in St. Pete. But they had confessed that, of course, rightfully so, if they had known I lived in St. Pete, they probably wouldn't have reached out because it was far and,
Mm-mm.
the logistics wouldn't have worked out. But thankfully, they saw my dedication and like that did they weren't like, oh well, maybe this isn't going to work. They were like, dude, that's sick, like she's showing up, she wants to do it. And it ended up to one of the nights, I guess they really enjoyed me because I opened my social media and there was like a sort of soft launch announcement of a new drummer. And I was like, oh my God, is it me? Is it me?
Is
And
it
it was
me?
me. So
You're
that
like,
was
"Is it me?"
fantastic. Yeah, and it was really, really cool. It was, like an interesting, just for my own personal nerdy lore. It was like a little, from being a fan of this band to them actually like, wanting me to work with them. It was cool. Vern, our front man, he knew me from I guess like the internet because I was in a Zeppelin tribute for 6 years, and I guess he saw like the videos and like had me from there.
Have to say, because you were about to say something, but before I forget, I live in Palm Harbor. So I literally live, like, in the same county as St. Pete. So that was so crazy where you're like, "I lived in St. Pete." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, I did for a little while, for a couple of years. I think from oh
Crazy.
my god, like to 2020, maybe 2023 to 2020, or no, maybe 2022 to 2024. I can't really remember the exact year. My brain's already
That's alright.
suffering.
Nobody's gonna quiz you on this one. There's no FCAT for this.
Nice. Oh, thank God.
I was like, full circle, we just came back to it. You were saying that Vern, the guy everybody in the band, they do the soft launch, you're like, "Is this me?" And they saw something in you. So, I mean, talk about what that was like for them to do that soft launch. Like you said, it was so exciting and it was kind of vindicating for you to be chosen for this. And they saw the dedication of you driving. what, 2, 3 hours to
Yeah,
practice?
it's about 3 2.5 to 3 hours depending on the traffic, which is, manageable. So I usually it's not uncommon for me to be driving a long time for things anyway because I don't know, I'm used to it. A lot of projects or like schools I went to or recitals or whatever were always like minimum half an hour to like an hour away. So it's like that. I like to say have sticks will travel. Like I don't care where it is. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me for a second that it was that far. I was used to traveling for music anyway. There was, an interesting situation in St. Pete that I eventually needed to get out of anyway. So there was like some trouble with like projects and schedules, and it was tough. I'm very grateful that I was able to get to join a healthy band.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
feels really, really, really good that they, believed in me enough because, like I have some confidence, but like any drummer, you have your doubts on like if you can really, you know, bring it and like, not necessarily in just like, chops or whatever, but like am I going to serve the songs the way that they want? Especially with this band, they've had like a dedicated following for years before I was even like a thought. So I, of course, wanted to be received well by like the dedicated fan base. And it was interesting. The very first gig I did with some random dude came up to me and had something to say about like the way that I played. Thank goodness I can't fully remember. At this point, it would probably be petty of me if I remembered. But it was like, the very first comment I got was sort of like, "You really need to play harder." And I was playing hard. So it was already like dismiss. Like those things you got to just like let it float away like a cloud because like it's meant to get into your head. Like, there's
Yeah.
no other reason someone would like it wasn't ever presented in like a helpful like, like here's some like genuine advice drummer. It was just some like meh, some curmudgeon, but after that, all that to say, of course, I just talked about how well I was received, and then that random curmudgeon said his thing, the little mouth breather, and then everyone else was like, "Dude, we are so happy that you joined the band." Like, as shows went on, people were coming up to me and saying, like, "We can really see you gaining confidence," which is like, okay, that's good. You hope to deliver confidence from the start, but I would imagine that they mean like, like I was learning the material and delivering it like I was a part
Yeah.
of the material all along versus like just learning and reciting. And now it's to the point where it's like, dude, like I don't know where these guys would be without you. These are other people saying this, not me. I obviously believe that they can go far with or
Not me,
without
no.
me. Genuinely. Like, but it was I love
Well, we
that
hope they don't.
people. Yeah, I hope so t I hope they don't either, but I hope they keep me. I would love to stay. But, yeah, people routinely tell me, like, "We're so glad that they found you. It's just a perfect fit," and it makes me feel very, very good. I love that. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, and to the band for wanting me. It's very cool. Very good.
I mean, that was a perfect segue, and I think you are humble, like, and it is refreshing because you're having to kind of push through. You're having to, and we talk about like there's plenty of female drummers out there. Sheila E., Cindy Blackman, obviously Anika. Like, there's so many drummers out there,
Mhm.
and bringing up like Dorothea, the godmother of drumming, somebody I've had the
So
pleasure of
cool.
talking to,
No way, for real?
and yeah,
That's so
believe it or
cool.
not, I got her on my MMA podcast a few years ago.
Mhm.
I know that sounds really weird, but
No worries.
I had her and another woman who was over the age of 70 who was in jujitsu, and she was working to get her purple belt. And I wanted to talk to the two of them about like the struggles of getting there and like what it was like because these are male dominated fields. There's no sugarcoating it. Like that's what it is. And I love
Mhm.
seeing especially this band. And like you said, like I've been listening to the music nonstop since basically I found you guys. And I think you either followed or commented on something and that really like opened the eyes. And I feel bad that I didn't probably found you sooner. I just didn't know I found you sooner. But it's been kind of refreshing to watch that. And then as the singles come out, it's really kind of opened my eyes to that in the sense of like you're hitting them, you're not hitting them hard enough. You're not hitting them hard enough. No, you're absolutely, absolutely doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Of course. So get a Tampa date one of these days because I'll be there. If I have to come to South Florida, I'll try to make it happen because I saw you guys have some shows coming up. So kind of wanted to save this part for like talk about the shows you guys have coming up. You already thanked the band, but if there's anyone else you want to thank or any sponsors you have, like this is the realm for that where I give you that open forum to kind of let everybody know what's going on.
For sure. We do have a few festivals coming up in September. I mentioned earlier that we were playing that we play Tennessee quite a while. We play the Stockyard in Bristol on September 17th. Then we have Footendale, Alabama on the 18th of September, Memphis, Tennessee on the 19th. We have some local shows like sprinkled throughout. We have Tipsy Tiki, Captain Hiram's in August. I think Tipsy Tiki is this and next month. As far as sponsors go, I do not have any sponsors. I'm sponsored by nobody. That is completely my fault. I have been sleeping on that. I do love DW. I've been playing DW for a long time. I love those kids very, very much. I guess as far as thanking people, I obviously thank you, band, for loving me and accepting me and hiring me. Thank you for having me be the first female on the show. That feels insanely good. If you want, you don't have to say yes, but I do have a small list of other amazing female drummers. If you'd like to sprinkle them throughout your podcast, I'll send you their names because you know it's we're hard to find, but we're out there, and I got you. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes and I do this. I go through the spiel every time, but Florida Drum Fest is coming up in September. It's going to be in Eustis. It's going to be the first time that the podcast is out and about. And so anybody who comes by the booth and wants to talk, we're going to do like little mini episodes. So I'm kind of stoked about that. So that's September 20th. The tickets to the show, guys, are like $10, $15, and there's going to be dozens of companies out there. DW is going to be out there, I'm pretty sure. There's going to be a blast beat clinic and I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say in case I'm wrong. But I have a feeling I know who it is, and I'm excited for that too. Jerseys for drummers, and I think this one's pretty cool because Joe and I were talking today. The guy who makes these, we're working on a new jersey to unveil at the Florida Drum Fest, so it's going to be a brand new one for this year. And I got to talk with Matt Greiner from August Burns Red this morning, and I
Oh my
only say
god,
that because it's exactly.
that's very cool.
And Matt has one of the jerseys made by Joe as well, and I sent Matt the list of the 4 mock-ups, and he kind of guided me towards one of them, so I'm like, I feel like if I don't pick that one, he's gonna be disappointed if he ever sees it, so, super cool thing, but I love these jerseys, they're super comfortable, and all of his info is in every single episode. Stay tuned records, local record shop in Tarpon Springs. Doug and Amy, I love you guys. Another super cool thing is, last month they had a tenant above them flood, damaged thousands of their stuff. So I told everybody, go online, just buy a couple records, just buy something, anything to help support them. That Led
Mhm.
Zeppelin record came from that store. And again, that was no accident that that was front and center. I decided which one was for you. If you guys haven't figured out, I'm changing the backgrounds every now and then. So the Cure poster is making its first appearance, I think, on the show, just
Ooh,
because I felt like it was fierce enough to kind of change it up.
nice.
And yeah, guys, I just thanks, Paige. Like it was super cool to have you on the show. And it wasn't for lack of trying to get a first female guest, but I feel like as the first female guest, you were the best choice because
Thank
your
you.
nickname is Rage. Like, come on.
It is Rage Paige, and somebody gave that to me. I didn't choose it. Not that if you choose your nickname, it's still cool, but I'm glad that somebody else sort of dubbed me Rage Paige and that it stuck for the rest of my life, you know.
How long ago did they do that? Like, how long ago was that dubbing
I
of the
was
Rage?
in 7th grade was when I got the nickname. Yeah, I was a little baby. Before that, I was also given to me. I had entered Drum Magazine has like a new blood section. where you can, they do little like new drummers. I don't know if
I
they still
remember.
do
Yeah.
it. Okay, cool, cool. So I was in the little new blood section, and in the excerpt that they wrote, they put this Princess of Mayhem, and I was like, "Oh my god." So I was Princess of Mayhem up until I was Rage Paige.
See now that's fun. I like that. And you're
Yeah.
right. You can't make up your own nicknames. And it just again, honestly, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you. I didn't ask you the same questions I asked everybody else because I wanted this to be different. I didn't want to sit and focus on who were your influences, who got you bringing up just because like you started telling a story and I just let you run with it. I said, that's perfect. I said, I like that so much more.
Thank you. Good, I'm glad. I was gonna apologize for, like, taking, my own. I didn't mean to take it in that direction, but as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And of course, as far as the not for lack of looking, like, it's totally chill. I'm honored to be the first female guest. I'm sure you were looking. I don't blame people if they don't have female guests, but I'm just happy that I was one. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you.
For sure. Well, on behalf of the DrumQuig podcast, myself, Rage Page, it was an absolute pleasure. Hey guys, wanted to take a quick second to let you know that the DrumQuig podcast will be at Florida Drum Fest Sunday, September 2026. It's from 11 to 5 p.m. at the Lake Canyon Fairgrounds. Vendors, podcast, all kinds of stuff drums. So coming out and support it and meet yours truly. Thanks so much. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the DrumQuig podcast. Thank you so much.